Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Brivajakacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Brivajakacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Bo Oh, Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Devamrita Swaminita Namine Chai Purvadaksham Cha Bhakta Charabavinata Parartha Tapi Karanyam Yasya Sarvejte Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam because it is our great fortune. And we're in the 6th canto, chapter 1, the history of the life of Ajamila. Text number, Prabhuji read Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya. So the next one is text number 16. Na tata hyagavan rajan puyeta tapa adibihi yata krishnarpita pranas tatparusha nishevaya. Na tata hyagavan rajan puyeta tapa adibihi yata krishnarpita pranas tatparusha nishevaya. Na tata hyagavan rajan puyeta tapa adibihi Yata Krishnarpita Pranas Tatpurusha Nishevaya. Word for word translation says, not, tata, so much, he, certainly, Aghavan, a man full of sinful activities. Like the Aghasura demon, Agha means sins. So Aghavan, the one who possesses all the sins, like Bhagavan, one who possesses all of the opulences, the Lord. So Van means to have something. So a man just full of sinful activities is Aghavan. Rajan, O king, Puyeta, can become purified. Tapa adibihi, by executing the principles of austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and other purifying processes. Yata, as much as, Krishna arpita pranaha, the devotee whose life is fully Krishna conscious. Tat purusha nishevaya, by engaging his life in the service of Krishna's representative. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Am I reading the right verse? Yes. Hare Krishna. My dear king, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord, and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and other methods of atonement I have previously described. Interesting. Purport. Tat Purusha refers to a preacher of Krishna consciousness, such as the spiritual master. Srila Narottama Das Thakur has said, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payeche Keva. Without serving a bona fide spiritual master, an ideal Vaishnava, who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya? This idea is also expressed in many other places. Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, Chapter 5, text number 2 says, Mahatsevam dvara mahur vimukte. If one desires liberation from the clutches of Maya, one must associate with a pure devotee Mahatma. A Mahatma is one who engages 24 hours daily in the loving service of the Lord. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 13. Mahatmanas mam parta daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Krita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Thus, the symptom of a Mahatma is that he has no engagement other than service to Krishna. One must render service to a Vaishnava in order to get freed from sinful reactions, revive one's original Krishna consciousness, and be trained in how to love Krishna. This is the result of Mahatma Seva. Of course, if one engages in the service of a pure devotee, the reactions of one's sinful life are vanquished automatically. Devotional service is necessary not to drive away an insignificant stock of sins, but to awaken our dormant love for Krishna. As fog is vanquished at the first glimpse of sunlight, one's sinful reactions are automatically vanquished as soon as one begins serving a pure devotee. No separate endeavor is required. The word Krishna Arpita Prana refers to a devotee who dedicates his life to serving Krishna, not to being saved from the path of hellish life. A devotee is Narayana Parayana, or Vasudeva Parayana, which means that the path of Vasudeva, or the devotional path, is his life and soul. Narayana Para Sarve Nakutaschana Bibhyati. Such a devotee is not afraid of going anywhere. There is a path toward liberation in the higher planetary systems and a path toward the hellish planets, but a Narayana Para devotee is unafraid wherever he is sent. He simply wants to remember Krishna wherever he may be. Such a devotee is unconcerned with hell and heaven. He is simply attached to rendering service to Krishna. When a devotee is put into hellish conditions, he accepts them as Krishna's mercy. Tatenukampam susamikshamana. He does not protest, "Oh, I am such a great devotee of Krishna. Why have I been put into this misery?" Instead, he thinks, "This is Krishna's mercy." Such an attitude is possible for a devotee who engages in the service of Krishna's representative. This is the secret of success. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again the verse says, my dear king, Shukadeva Goswami, speaking of course to Maharaj Parikshit, giving an answer to his very important question at the beginning of this canto. How can people be saved from the hellish existence that you've just described? And Shukadeva Goswami gives some answers. In the previous verse, what we heard yesterday, he clarifies, actually just bhakti. Kevalaya bhakti. Unalloyed devotion. And then he makes clear to Maharaj Parikshit in this verse by saying, a person who's just concerned with avoiding hellish life is actually not qualified to avoid a hellish life. One who takes shelter of a devotee and who pursues Krishna, one who runs towards Krishna by following in the footsteps of his devotees, instead of merely avoiding hellish torment, that person is really qualified. Not just for liberation. Liberation becomes like secondary effect. That person becomes qualified for pure devotion. And so Shukadeva Goswami wants to make very clear to all of us, pure devotional service, that is the sum and substance of Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the goal of Bhakti Yoga, and that pure devotional service can be acquired, revitalized, rehabilitated in the association of someone who is Tat Purusha, a great devotee. Tat Purusha Nishevaya, always engaged in service to Krishna. So he says, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be completely purified. Now, this shouldn't be so far-fetched because that is exactly what happened to all of us. I don't think anybody here just manifested it themselves. Nobody has manifested whatever inklings of pure devotion we have. They were not self-generated. Someone, by their loving service, by their self-evident devotion to the Lord, inspired us beyond all doubt to remember our relationship with Krishna. Practically, in this age of Kali, there is no other way for one to revive Krishna consciousness except by serving a great devotee. Tat Purusha Nishevaya. What can we hope to accomplish with our own intelligence? Can barely remember to chant Gayatri. What can we hope to accomplish with whatever power, influence, or money we might have in this world? All these things are just a house of cards. One strong breeze will take it all away. Gone. What can we hope to accomplish with even our experiences? If experience is not coupled with transcendental knowledge, that experience is useless. Everybody's experienced. Right? Brahmanda Brahmite Kona. According to Lord Chaitanya, we've all traveled throughout the entire universe. We've had so many experiences. But only Bhagyavan Jiva, the really fortunate Jiva, actually benefits from their experiences, actually learns, actually develops some good quality and capacity to serve Krishna by Guru Krishna Prasad Hoy Bhakti Lata Bija. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasada Hoya Bhakti Lata Bija. I think I'm saying the verse correctly. We've all been all over the universe experiencing so many things. I've done this, I've done that. In previous lives, I was here, I was there, and I was everywhere. It was all useless until one becomes Bhagyavan Jiva. This is the only verse I know of in which the Jiva is also described as Bhagavan. Very, very fortunate. Full of opulence. How does one become Bhagavan Jiva? If, by the mercy of both Guru and Krishna, the seed of devotion, the Bhakti Lata Bija, is planted in the heart. Otherwise, what have we got going for ourselves? Just the shadow, a shadow of real quality, a shadow of real life. And dear devotees, it is still true now, even though some of us are somewhat established in bhakti and card-carrying members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Is it the International Society for Krishna Consciousness or of Krishna Consciousness? I can't remember which preposition is used. It just goes to show I haven't even looked at my membership card. But even if we are card-carrying members, still, at every moment, we are fully dependent on the mercy of devotees, and especially the spiritual master. We should not think that, well, I've learned the ropes and I understand the lingo. I know how to jive with all the different Vaishnavas, and I can give a really good impression that I got it going on in bhakti. This is one of the many pitfalls of our spiritual life. I can give a pretty good impression that I got it going on. At least the part of me that they see is engaged in devotional service. The part of me that they hear about. And so everyone thinks that I'm a devotee. And so I don't need the other devotees because I've become expert at putting on airs. I'm not saying that this is what anybody here does, but I am saying that it is what I do. And we might think, well, I know how to, walk the walk and talk the talk, and so I guess I'm doing okay in devotional service. Sometimes devotees say something nice about some little thing that I do once in a while. So I guess I'm doing all right. And yeah, maybe I don't need the shelter of the devotees, and maybe spiritual master is just an accessory in my life, because after all, I'm doing fine. I pretty much figured out this whole Krishna Bhakti thing, and I figured out Krishna. Now he's obliged to just take me back home, back to Godhead. This cockiness is what prevents us from progressing by taking shelter of the spiritual master, our spiritual master, and our Param Guru, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. You might think that I know what I'm doing. I'm fine without. Gurudev, I've got your picture on the wall, and even though he told me a few things about some of my problems a while ago, and even though he told me to do this particular service, and I haven't really put my heart into it yet, I seem to be doing okay, and I keep getting prasadam when I go to the program, so I guess no need to worry. But even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, demonstrated that at all stages of bhakti, even in the ecstatic stage, still one is so dependent upon the spiritual master. This is described in the most important chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you all know what I'm talking about. In Adi Lila chapter 7. Lord Chaitanya manifested ecstatic moods of devotion. Of course, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's come to demonstrate what the ecstatic love of God looks like and sounds like, smells like and tastes like. And Prakashananda Saraswati was criticizing him, saying this person has lost his mind. He's chanting and dancing with all these fanatics in the street. He's a sannyasi. He should be studying Vedanta Sutra with us. So that Prakashananda Saraswati invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come and to discuss Vedanta. And the Lord said, yeah, when I chant, I don't know, I'm just overwhelmed with this ecstasy. Krishna nama maha mantra etasvabhava ye japatari Krishna upajaye bhava. Anyone who chants it just feels ecstasy. Please don't think for a second that this is some sort of rehearsal of mine, is what the Lord said to Prakashananda Saraswati. He said, it's just the nature of the holy name of Krishna, that anyone who chants it immediately experiences love of God. So don't think that I've practiced, rehearsed I simply chant and it forces me to dance and to laugh and to cry. He said, but just like you, Prakashananda Saraswati, feeling this ecstasy, I was confused and I approached my spiritual master. This is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 7. While chanting the holy name, I'm reading from text 70. I'm going to read a couple of verses because I just love this whole section. And it's illustrating how even the Lord himself, even if we're at the topmost level of ecstasy, still one feels oneself fully dependent upon the spiritual master. Take shelter of the devotee of the Lord, Tat Purusha Nishevaya, to be close to Krishna. So from text 78, Lord Chaitanya says, while chanting the holy name of the Lord in pure ecstasy, I lose myself, and thus I laugh, cry, dance, and sing just like a madman. Unmadavan nityati lokabhaya. Unmadavan, just like we heard Agavan, Bhagavan, Unmadavan, someone who's like a crazy person. We shouldn't actually be crazy, but like a crazy person. Collecting my patience, therefore, I began to consider that chanting the holy name of Krishna had covered all my spiritual knowledge. Right? The ecstasy is so profound. And that when I chant, I become so overwhelmed. I think, like, did I forget, my spiritual knowledge, all that stuff about austerity and about penance and about self-control and about seeing with transcendental vision and about controlling all of the senses and the mind. All of that seemed to disappear in the kirtan because I was laughing and crying, dancing and singing like a madman. So he thought, my knowledge has been covered. I saw that I had become mad by chanting the holy name, and I immediately submitted this at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, of course, that thus in any condition, even when liberated, we should never think ourselves independent of the spiritual master, but must refer to him as soon as there is some doubt regarding our progressive spiritual life. Lord Chaitanya goes on to say, describing his conversation with his spiritual master, my dear Lord, what kind of mantra have you given me? I have become mad simply by chanting this Maha Mantra. Japiti Japiti Mantra, Karila Pagala. Chanting and chanting this mantra has made me crazy. Chanting the holy name in ecstasy causes me to dance, laugh, and cry. When my spiritual master heard all this, he smiled and then began to speak. He's the one who says, Krishna Nama Mahamantra. Eta Svabhava, Ye Japatare Krishna, Upajaya Bhava. I contemplate this verse every day. It is the nature of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra that anyone who chants it immediately develops his loving ecstasy for Krishna. Prabhupada writes a really amazing purport. Everyone should read this daily. He goes on to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Prakashananda Saraswati, relaying the conversation that he had with his spiritual master. His spiritual master, Srila Ishvara Chandra Puri, goes on to say that religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, these are the four goals of life. But before love of Godhead, the fifth and highest goal, these appear as insignificant as straw in the street. What is the use for a devotee who has actually developed bhava? The pleasure derived from dharma, artha, kama, and moksha is just like a drop in the presence of the sea. The conclusion of all revealed scriptures is that one should awaken his dormant love of Godhead. You are greatly fortunate to have already done so. And this is exactly what Shukadeva Goswami is saying here in this verse as well. Although Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring how to avoid hellish life, and Shukadeva Goswami gives a broad answer, atonement, then Shukadeva Goswami clarifies, actually avoiding hellish life is not even a priority. The priority is attaining a love of God by following in the footsteps of the great devotees of the Lord. Tat Purusha Nishevaya. This is the successful purification, not just atonement by austerity, penance, and brahmacharya and other methods. The best is to awaken pure love of God in the association of the devotees. That's the success. It accomplishes everything else. Krishna Bhakti, it accomplishes everything else. Shada Shabde Vishvasa Kahe Sudhrida Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Kritahaya. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, and I think I just butchered the Bengali there. My Bengali is terrible. All I can say is, Kemon achen, Bhagavad Gita lelo. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that the definition of faith is the implicit understanding that simply by doing Krishna Bhakti, everything else is taken care of. Sarva karma kritahoy. Everything else is done. All the penances, all the austerities, all of the brahmacharya, all of the pious acts, all of the cultivation of knowledge, all of the obligations that we have to the parents, to the demigods, to the sages, everything is accomplished by doing devotional service to Krishna. That's Shraddha, faith. I don't need anything else. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying, one cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and other methods of atonement. But if a person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be completely purified. Even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's at the level of Krishna Prema. Of course, he is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, but still, for all intents and purposes, he's demonstrating that even someone who's in the ecstasy of love of God, still, they inquire from the spiritual master. They serve the spiritual master. In fact, even in this stage of ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru, Srila Ishvara Chandrapuri, gives him an instruction. He goes on to say, again, we're back in the conversation of the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Ishvara Chandrapuri goes on to say, it is a characteristic of love of Godhead that by nature it induces transcendental symptoms in one's body and makes one more and more greedy to achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. When one actually develops love of Godhead, he naturally sometimes cries, sometimes laughs, sometimes chants, and sometimes runs here and there, just like a madman. Perspiration, trembling, standing on end of one's bodily hairs, tears, faltering voice, fading complexion, madness, melancholy, patience, pride, joy, and humility. These are various natural symptoms of ecstatic love of Godhead, which causes a devotee to dance and float in an ocean of transcendental bliss while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And then Lord Chaitanya's guru gives him continued instructions, gives him more service to do. That's the great benefit of being in the association of devotees, that there's always more service to do, to increase the ecstasy.
617.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you're giving on 617 too.
No, I'm not doing it. I told him no. I was
Anyway,
like,
you know. So
Haribo Nagari Krishna.
Oh.
Please say, I'd love to hear your comments, but at the end. So Ishvara Chandrapuri goes on to say, it is very good, my dear child, that you have attained the supreme goal of life by developing love of Godhead.
You heard me?
Thus you have pleased me very much,
I'm not
and I'm
doing
very
it.
much obliged to you.
I've heard the whole
My
conversation.
dear child, continue dancing, chanting, and performing
Oh,
Sankirtana in
that was
the...
James. He just switched on his mic.
It's like a stuff.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Haru.
No problem. Just making my stunning apex of a conclusion here. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru, Ishvara Chandrapuri, goes on to say, my dear child, continue dancing, chanting, and performing Sankirtan in association with devotees. Furthermore, Go out and preach the value of chanting Krishna Nama, for by this process you will be able to deliver all fallen souls. So even Lord Chaitanya himself, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and yet who is demonstrating the ecstatic level of love of God, singing and dancing in ecstasy, he shows us that at all phases of spiritual life, one still feels oneself dependent upon the spiritual master, dependent upon the service given by the spiritual master. It is not that Lord Chaitanya, he experienced ecstatic love of God, and so now he's done. Finished. Congratulations, you get a prize, first place, you're the best devotee. Done. No. Ishvara Chandrapuri goes on to say, furthermore, go out and preach the value of chanting Krishna Nama, for by this process you will be able to deliver all fallen souls. The whole substance of the sixth canto is about delivering fallen souls. Aghavan, persons who are just possessed and obsessed with sinful activity. But puyeta, they can be purified, not just by tapa adibi, by austerity and penance and brahmacharya and some sort of pious good works and all these sort of things. That takes a long time. It's arduous and slow. But tat parusha nishevaya, if one is so very fortunate that they come in contact with a devotee and are engaged in devotional service under the auspices of that devotee, then they can very quickly redirect their life away from hellish destination, adantagobir vishatam tamishram, but instead begin to move towards Krishna. Prapadyamanas. Prapadyate, the word we often use meaning surrender, literally means to step forward, moving towards Krishna. So that is enacted very easily and very quickly by a great devotee. Don't take my word for it. It doesn't need any justification from me. All of us have experienced, by the association of a great devotee, someone who took the time to care about us, to guide us, to look beyond all of our flaws and our faults, all of our misdemeanors or felonies, and to see the potential for Krishna Bhakti. Those persons plant within the heart the seed of devotional service so that we can actually go back home, back to Godhead. That is how it is enacted, not by some quality of our own, not because we are just so damn smart, or I'm just so good looking, or I've just got so much stuff that therefore I have some sort of right to Krishna Bhakti. It was only because the devotee has planted the seed of devotion and the other devotees continue to water that seed of devotion. So let us not think ourselves independent of the Vaishnavas or independent of the spiritual master. Declaring our dependence on Krishna. That is the real liberation from material existence, and even better than liberation from material existence. That's how love of Godhead is established permanently, forever and ever. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. So, let us all write a letter to Gurudev or pray to our spiritual master. Say, Gurudev, thank you. Because I might think that I've learned the ropes and I'm doing okay in bhakti, but actually at every stage, I'm just so dependent on your instruction, on your guidance, on the service you've given, on the example that you set at every moment. Otherwise, I am completely lost. So let's express some gratitude by doing devotional service, hearing and chanting, and laboring for Krishna. Any comments on some of these topics that we've discussed this morning? I highly, highly recommend. I cannot stress enough how important it is to read Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, Chapter 7. My spiritual master, His Holiness Devamrita Swami, once said, and this is back in like 2006, he said, I've read this chapter over 100 times. So I thought to myself, wow, I need to read this chapter 100 times, following in the footsteps of my spiritual master. And so I did, just again and again and again. And the very important, essential spiritual truths are abundant. Prabhupada's purports are so rich. When Prabhupada completed translating and commenting on this Adi Lila chapter 7, he recognized this is really important stuff. And he had it printed as a separate book even before the rest of the Chaitanya Charitamrita had been completed. It is printed as a book, Lord Chaitanya and 5 features. I don't know if it's printed separately anymore. Of course, now we have the whole CC. But at the time, Prabhupada felt like this is urgent. Just like he produced the Krishna book before finishing Srimad Bhagavatam. He recognized the urgency. He recognized that potentially he wouldn't be around to finish the whole Bhagavatam, so he made the Krishna book first. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada printed this Adi Lila chapter 7, recognizing its urgency. And even though you don't often see the standalone book, we should know that historically, Prabhupada saw this as a very, very important section of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So everyone, please read it all the time. I'm finished. Thanks, dear devotees, for tuning in. If there's no comments or questions, then we will dismiss everyone, because I'm so fortunate I'm going to see Ekavira Prabhu soon and do a little service for Ekavira Prabhu. Tat Parusha Nishevaya. Hare Krishna.
We have a comment, chat.
Oh, comment in the chat says, sorry about that. And Leela Kishore, thank you, Mataji, for tuning in. Okay. Thank you, dear devotees. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Thank you for your class.
Thanks for tuning in and listening.
Very, very wonderful class. Many important points made. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.